For our next stop, we'll take a short ride about 20 blocks downtown from the Upper West Side over to Midtown Manhattan. 7th Avenue and 55th Street is definitely one spot you do not want to miss.
The assassination of not one but two high-profile mobsters took place here, 29 years apart, at the Park Central Hotel.
On November 4th, 1928, Arnold Rothstein was shot to death in a hotel room at what was then the Park Sheraton Hotel, ultimately for refusing to pay a gambling debt of $320,000 for a card game that took place here at the Congress Apartments at 161 West 54th Street, just a block from the Park Central Hotel, where he was fatally shot. Rothstein refused to pay up because he felt the card game had been fixed. Ironic, since this is the guy who fixed the 1919 World Series that became known as the Black Sox Scandal, when the favored Chicago White Sox threw the game, losing to the Cincinnati Reds. He managed to stumble out of the hotel through the 55th Street service entrance and was rushed to the Stuyvesant Polyclinic on 2nd Avenue in Manhattan's East Village, where he died. Rothstein, even though he was a Jewish gangster, adhered to the Sicilian code of silence known as omerta, even in his final moments. When the police asked him who shot him, his final words were, "My mother. You keep to your business and I'll keep to mine." Rothstein was a legendary and powerful crime kingpin through the Roaring '20s, making a huge fortune in gambling and becoming one of the biggest bootleggers in the country during Prohibition. He was a millionaire by the time he was 30 and financed much of the mob's endeavors. Arnold Rothstein mentored a legion of notorious mobsters, including Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky, Legs Diamond, Dutch Schultz, and Frank Costello. He garnered many nicknames, including the Brain, the Fixer, and the Big Bankroll, and was made famous once again when he was portrayed as himself in the popular show Boardwalk Empire.
29 years later, another legendary mobster was gunned down in the barbershop of the Park Sheraton Hotel. Today, it's the Park Central. That barbershop today, though, is a Starbucks. I wonder how many people waiting in line for their caramel mocha lattes realize the blood that was spilled beneath their very feet. When you're on tour with us, you need a little pick-me-up, I'll be sure to take you here.
His name was Albert Anastasia, also known as the Mad Hatter and the Lord High Executioner, given that title by both the media and his fellow mobsters because of his psychopathic enjoyment of watching his suffering victims die. Anastasia was a founding partner in a group of ruthless hitmen for hire known as Murder Incorporated. In 1951, he took over what would eventually become the Gambino crime family by killing the boss of the family at the time, Vincent Mangano. However, by not getting the approval of the commission first, Anastasia violated a cardinal rule in the mob: the killing of a godfather without first getting approval from the other heads of the families. But the commission looked the other way, preferring to avoid a war between the families. Celebrating his new rank, Anastasia built a new mansion for himself at 75 Bluff Road in Fort Lee, New Jersey, near the George Washington Bridge, surrounding it with a 7-foot-tall barbed wire fence and filling the yard with ferocious Doberman pinschers to patrol the grounds. The mansion still stands to this day, but his newfound success as boss would be fairly short-lived. On a bright Manhattan morning on October 25, 1957, Anastasia went for his daily shave and trim at Grasso's Barbershop inside the Park Sheraton Hotel. 2 gunmen walked in and shot Anastasia 5 times in the head and chest and quickly disappeared into crowded Midtown Manhattan. Dreaded for his homicidal ingenuity as one of the founders of Murder, Inc., he was caught completely off guard at the peak of his power. And as so often happens in well-planned mafia executions, Anastasia's bodyguard was conveniently absent when the shooting took place. Albert Anastasia also has the distinction of being the first mob boss since 1931 to be rubbed out in old-fashioned gangland style in a public area. Pretty ironic for a killer who prided himself on his preoccupation with security.
Nobody was ever charged with the assassination of Anastasia, emphasizing the persistent fog that covers many legendary Mafia slayings. But investigators believe Carlo Gambino, who would replace Anastasia, and Vito Genovese were behind the murder.